And again, hello, my dear viewers, we have March 18th in our yard, and traditionally this material is devoted to reports from the front line. And so, what happens on the fronts? First, traditionally the southern direction. Here is an operational com. By the way, I want to comment on the situation on the video, which was posted by the deputy of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine Alexei Goncharenko, about his campaign to liberate, in his opinion, the Kherson region. In fact, this is the goal for which the so-called counteroffensive of the Ukrainian army in this area was organized. In fact, the goal was to show the whole world, primarily Ukraine, that not everything is controlled by the Russian Federation in the Kherson region. For this Puerto Rico campaign, an unnecessary village on the border with the Nikolaev and Kherson regions was chosen, where from the edge of Nikolaev by car you can get there in about 20-30 minutes. Strictly speaking, this is the result of this offensive. Russian troops that were in the suburbs of Nikolaev retreated about 15 kilometers back. They did the same to the north of Nikolaev so as not to incur additional losses, while for the time being the offensive in the Odessa region was cancelled, and all combat activity is transferred to a server in the Kryvyi Rog region and in Kherson. According to my information, the situation is calm. The new government is working fine. Inside Russian troops, checkpoints around the city are. It is clear that no one is in a hurry not to storm or take it. The goal of the Puerto Rico action has been achieved. Shown is a village in the Kherson region, which is not under the control of the Russian Federation. Well, it is clear that the Ukrainian armored column for the assault on Kherson will definitely not pass 40 kilometers across the open steppe. Moreover, that night, Russian troops pulled up heavy multiple launch rocket systems, Smerch, there. They showed that they could inflict very serious fire damage on the Nikolaevsky garrison, which was done that night. In fact, the Kolbakino airfield was hit, the barracks of the 79th Airborne Brigade were hit. So far, I have no data on losses, but in general they should be quite significant. And so with this direction it is clear that we have in Mariupol. The move is going pretty well. It is expected that perhaps today by the end of the day we will hear that the grouping of the armed forces of Ukraine in the city has been cut into two parts, which will continue to be defended. In any case, the question now goes on for days. After that, the bulk of the city will be cleared, and the group that storms it will be transferred to the northern direction. It, accordingly, will strengthen the advancing capabilities of the Russian armed forces, as well as the troops of the Donetsk People's Republic. There they also successfully advanced towards Kurakhovo. By the way, a very remarkable moment, I was asked to convey to the inhabitants of Ugledar that they have no Ukrainian troops in the city. But true, the Russian troops, which flow around the city from all sides, occupy settlements, but have not yet entered the city. Indeed, a very difficult humanitarian situation has developed there. There is no heating, and it's cold outside. In apartments, the temperature drops to 0 degrees, and, in fact, people barely survive there. The same applies to the fighting near the city of Marinka. The offensive of the Donetsk People's Republic continues, but the Ukrainian troops here are fighting desperately. I want to pay special attention to the direction Izyum, Slavyansk, because local residents from Slavyansk, from Kramatorsk, I was told that for the first time today they did not hear the departure of shells from Slavyansk. And they heard the arrivals of shells in the nature of Slavyansk. Also in the area of settlement Dolchenko, residents heard the work of large-caliber automatic weapons. It could have been the K-heavy machine gun, PVT, or a Grad installation, or some other large-caliber installation. And also arrivals of Russian artillery shells go there. It is very likely that it is here, today, that the offensive front of the Russian army is located. In fact, the Russian army has already taken the Kharkiv region from the direction of Izyum and is moving towards Slavyansk. Well, there have also been skirmishes in the Barbankovo area for several days already. Apparently, the advanced units of the Russian troops came here, while small forces, and these small forces, perhaps the Ukrainian army is trying to smoke out of there. There are no large forces of the Russian army here yet, but the presence of the Russian armed forces is already here. That is, there are more and more reports that, indeed, the Russian army has bypassed Izium with great forces, having built a pontoon crossing over the Seversky Donets River. I went south, and already reached the border of Kharkov and Donetsk regions. Well, there is also an unconfirmed message from near Kyiv that Russian troops may have entered or may have already taken the settlement of Baryshevka. And this is a few kilometers from the highway Kyiv-Kharkov. There are also reports of active offensive operations by the Russian armed forces north of Kyiv, in the direction of the city of Vyshgorod. Let me remind you that it was here that Russian troops were able to force the Irpin River, and are now trying to build on their success in order to cut off the Kyiv garrison from the Kiev reservoir. Through this reservoir, by the way, they are trying to throw saboteurs into the rear of the Russian troops. This is about all the news that happened in the last hours, during the night, and in the morning of March 18th. Until then, goodbye, and see you soon.
Пока все, до свидания, ну и до новых встреч.